Hello, welcome to the Cloud Factory. I am Sandy, your sewing guru, and today I'm going to show you how to make a basic bodice block so easy that you can transform in any garment you want. These are the measurements we are going to need to make this pattern, so you can pause the video and take note, or also you can check the description box below this video because I will give you the link with all the information there. We are going to start with our back pattern. For that you need to draw a 90 degrees angle in the left side of your paper, like this. And then here in the top corner I'm going to mark the neckline. For that, from this corner in the horizontal, you have to mark 1/6 part of the neck round. And here in the vertical, mark 2 centimeters for all sizes. Use these 2 points to trace a rectangle and take it as a base to draw the curve of your neckline. Start from here, not exactly from the corner as I am showing you. And there you have it. Now, before to continue, let me explain you something. First of all, we are going to make these patterns using centimeters because it's more exact than inch. And then, did you see the list of measurements I showed you before that we need to make these patterns? Well, to every measurement that is a contour, well, not all, only the 3 I'm showing you here on the screen, you are going to add 4 centimeters for ease. For example, if your bust round is 90, then you are going to think that is 94. If your waist round is 70, then you consider that is 74, and also for the hips round. We are going this to add ease, so the fabric it will have the space it needs to cover your body properly, and the garment it will not be tight when you wear it. Now, from those 4 centimeters, we are going to add 1 centimeter in the back and 3 centimeters of ease in the front, because obviously from the waist upwards our body it has more volume in the front part. To apply that in our patterns we are going to do the following. This is the back pattern, so I have 1 centimeter for ease, but here I am tracing only the half of the full shape of the back. So obviously I need to take only half of that ease. That means I will add here in this particular pattern ½ centimeter in every place I have to mark the contours I showed you before. Knowing that, here in the top horizontal line I'm going to mark 1/4 part of my bust round, adding ½ centimeter for ease that we calculated before. And I'm going to use that point to square a line, a vertical line, but I'm going to make it like a dashed line because it's only a reference line for now. Now here from this point in this reference line I am going to mark the 10% of the back length. That means you need to measure the back length and divide it by 10 and the result mark it here. In my case, for example, the length is 43, so here I have to mark 4.3 centimeters. And here I'm going to trace the shoulder line, but not now because it will be so wide. First I need to mark here the back. You need to take that measurement exactly from one bone on your shoulder to the other bone in your another shoulder. Then mark the half here and square a line. Or you can also mark the same measurement over here and use those 2 points to trace a line. This method is often more exact than a square line. Now I'm going to set my scale matching these 2 points or touching these 2 points like this, and I'm going to trace the shoulder line, but I'm going to reach only the line of the back width. as I am showing you. Here is obviously smaller than this, but this is calculated in this technique already. This is what I need. In that way, you are going to get a perfect shoulder slope based in your own measurements and not in standards. Now we are going to mark the armhole length, and for that I'm going to teach you two different methods, but both are equally good. You use whatever is easier for you. The first one is to mark here from the top corner the half of your back length and add 2 centimeters. And there trace your line. I'm going to mark it over here also. And when you trace your line, this time we are going to reach this line because here, remember, we have 1/4 part of our bust contour. That is what we need for the armhole width. And this is one method. The second method is here. Do you remember? I mark already in this segment. I have 10% of all the length of my back. So measuring from the top horizontal line, here I have the 43 centimeters and here I have the 10% of it. From this point to the 43 centimeters, this segment, only this segment, you are going to divide it by 2 to get the half point, or just mark it in this way. And as you can see, it matches with the points I marked before. So you are going to get the same results with the two methods, and you use whatever is easier for you. Then I'm going to use those points to trace the armhole line, reaching here, and also here I'm going to extend it to complete this vertical, touching the armhole line. Now before to trace this part, we are going to trace the curve of our armhole. For that, we are going to measure this segment, and I'm going to mark the half. If you don't want to make numbers, just fold your measuring tape in this way and mark the half point. In that point, I'm going to square a small line of 1/2 centimeter, 5 millimeters. It has to be exactly 5 millimeters. And now I am going to measure this segment from here to here. This is the extension for the armhole. Measure it and note it so you will not forget. I have 5 centimeters. And now from this point in the vertical upwards, I'm going to mark those 5 centimeters, adding 1/2 centimeter more. Now here I'm going to trace a bisector line. If you remember to do this, you need to put your square like this in the angle and then mark the half point, this point, and then trace from the corner using that point to make the bisector. In that bisector line from the corner, I'm going to mark half of my armhole extension, and I'm going to add 2 millimeters. So here I have 5 centimeters, half of this is 2.5. Adding 2 more millimeters, I have 2.7 in this example. So I am marking it here. Now, using your French curve, we are going to trace the curve. Set it in this position. And first we are going to join these 3 points. And then these 3 points. And our armhole curve is ready and is perfect using those reference points. Every pattern you make it will have exactly the same curve. Now here I'm going to mark the back length and join with this point that is also the back length I marked before. And here in this line I'm going to mark 1/4 part of my waist round, adding the ease I have for the back, which is 1/2 centimeter, and join with this point. Here I'm going to trace the dart. For that, this segment, also divided by 2, mark the half, and this measurement, mark it here also, this here, to make a perfect vertical line that it will be the center line of our dart. This dart, it will be 3 centimeters, so I'm going to mark 1/2 to one side and 1/2 to another side of my central line, 1.5 here and 1.5 here. Now I'm going to join this point, and I'm using another color. I'm going to explain you why. First, I'm going to join with the armhole line in red color. And now I'm going to mark another internal dart with another color. From here, from the top line, from the armhole line, mark downwards 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch. And from that point, mark another dart, join with the same points of the base of the dart. Now let me explain you why. This dart that I draw in red color is called designer dart, and the blue dart I marked from here is called dressmaker dart. The designer dart is obviously used by the designers when they need to transform the pattern into another garment. To make those transformations, the basic things is the transfer of the darts, and to transfer a dart we need to trace it until here, touching the armhole line. Now the dressmaker dart, we are not going to stitch it complete until the armhole line. We are going to stitch it leaving a space here of 1 inch from here downwards, 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch, because if we stitch it until this point we are going to get like a different shape of the garment. So this is the dart that the dressmakers will follow when stitching the garment. Now we are going to mark from the waistline downwards the length of the hips. This length you have to take it from your waist to your hips in the side of your body. In my case is 17 centimeters. I'm going to mark it here in both sides and trace this line. Now here in the baseline of the pattern you need to mark 1/4 part of the hips round and add the 5 millimeters for ease. In my case, this measurement was almost the same than the measurement of the baseline of the pattern, like the difference was 2 millimeters, so I just leave it here in the corner, and I use this point as a hip point reference because the measurements match. But you mark your own measurement. It doesn't matter if you need to mark it before to reach the corner or if you need to extend this line to mark it. And then we are going to join with the waist point as I am showing you now. So now here I'm going to join this point with the waist point to trace the side hips of the pattern. And then I'm going to extend the dart, because I also need a dart in this part here. I'm going to extend the central line and then join with the same dart points I have already. In this case I'm not going to mark, the length is 12 centimeters for this dart, but probably we will change that later when making transformations of these patterns depending on what the garment needs. That's why I'm not going to mark the designer dart and the dressmaker dart. Now, these 3 centimeters, once I close it, obviously the garment will get smaller on the waist. So to compensate these 3 centimeters, I'm going to add it here in the other side. Every time when you trace a dart in the pattern, since you will close the dart, you need to add the same width of the dart in the other side of the pattern. In this case, I'm going to add the 3 centimeters here, and from that point I will join with the armhole and with the hips point. And that's it, your pattern is ready. You only need to write the information and cut it. Now let's make our front pattern. You need to trace another 90 degrees angle, but this time in the right side of the paper, in the opposite side, like this. And here I'm going to mark, starting from top, 1/6 part of the neck round, same like in the back, or you can just take your back pattern and transfer the same point. So like that you will be sure that you have exactly the same measurement. And now from here in the corner on the vertical, I'm going to mark 1/6 part of the neck round again, but this time I'm going to add 2 centimeters. Later I will explain you why I add those 2 centimeters. For now, make the rectangle in this way and trace the curve for the neckline. But don't start from this corner, start like over here. Leave like 1 or 2 centimeters there, like this. Now here I'm going to mark from here, from the corner, the half of the back length, the half of the back width, and I'm going to reduce 5 millimeters. Also, I will explain you later why I reduce that. And I'm going to square a line, or also you can, this measurement, mark it over here so it will be more exact. And join those 2 points to trace a vertical line here. Now we are going to transfer the shoulder line of the back pattern to the front pattern. Match the neckline corner here with the neckline corner in this pattern, and also match the central lines of the pattern. We want exactly the same shape for the shoulder, the same shoulder slope that I already calculate for the back pattern. So just mark the points and trace exactly the same shoulder line. As you can see here, is going about ½ centimeter outside of my vertical line. And now I'm going to trace the armhole line. In this case, for the front pattern, I'm going to trace here to mark the half of the back width I have. If you remember, in the back pattern we add 2 centimeters, but not here, only half. And trace this line. And here we are going to complete this line. And let's trace the curve of our armhole. For that, first in this line you need to mark 1/4 part of your bust round, adding 1.5 centimeters. Do you remember what we were talking about the ease? That we have 4 centimeters for ease, and 1 centimeter we added in the back, and 3 centimeters we added in the front. So since this pattern is only half of the front, we need to add 1.5 centimeters for this pattern to the bust round, the waist and the hips. So here mark 1/4 part of the bust round, adding the ease, which is 1.5 centimeters, is here. And now take the measurement of this segment as we did in the back, the armhole extension. This time I have 5.5 centimeters. I am going to note it here. Now this segment divided in half, and mark the half point under, square a small line inside. This time we are going to square 1 centimeter. Now from this corner upwards on the vertical, we are going to mark half of the armhole extension I note here, and I'm going to add 5 millimeters. So in this case, 5.5, the half of that is 2.5, 2.75, and I'm going to add 5 millimeters. Mark it there. And now we are going to trace a bisector line here. And in the bisector line, I'm going to mark 1/3 part of this, of the armhole extension, and I'm going to add 3 millimeters to it. In my case is 2.1. So mark it, and now trace the armhole curve, the French curve in these positions, first the 3 points, and then the other 3 points. And that's it. Now let me show you how it's different from the back curve and how it will be. Obviously the front one is deeper and shorter than the back one. Now I'm going to explain you the things I told you before. Remember here I add 2 centimeters in vertical to the neckline. If you take your back pattern and align with the front pattern the armhole lines like this, you will notice that here we have 2 centimeters extra here in the difference of the shoulder lines. The back shoulder is 2 centimeters higher than the front one. So it's like this pattern, when I trace it, I took it down by 2 centimeters. So in that way I am practically reducing those 2 centimeters from the shoulder. So if I am reducing from the shoulder, also I reduce from the neckline. So to compensate those 2 centimeters I reduce here, that's why I added here to get the complete shape of my neckline. If you remember here, I marked half of my back, adding 2 centimeters, and in the front I only mark half of the back without those 2 centimeters. That's why this is higher, the shoulder, than the front one. And we need it to be higher to give a proper shape to our garments in the back part of the body. We need this one to be higher so it will give a proper shape to the shoulder and the back in the top part. The other thing is, here in this measurement in my back pattern I have half of the back width, and here I have the same but I reduce 5 millimeters. That is because here at this point of the curve I have 5 millimeters depth in the back and 1 centimeter here in the front. But I need them to be different by 1 centimeter. I need a difference of 1 centimeter at this point in between my both curves. So to compensate that, that's why I reduce half centimeter more. Otherwise, this difference it will be only 5 millimeters. So that's why here I reduce half centimeter, so the difference it will be complete. Now we are going to trace the waistline, but for that we need to calculate first the width of the dart I will have here. And for that I need another measurement, that is the apex circle radius. With that measurement then I can calculate the width of my dart. Let me explain you how to do that. The first method to calculate the apex circle radius is to measure the bust round and take the 10% of it, or which is the same, take the bust round and divide it by 10. For example, if the bust round is 100 centimeters divided by 10, and we will get 10 centimeters. Those 10 centimeters is the apex circle radius. But this method works only for proportioned and standard bodies. It doesn't work with different bodies. For example, someone so slim with a bigger breast or someone fatty with a smaller breast. For that, we have another methods like this one I'm showing you now, which is to measure directly on the body the apex circle radius. You have to measure it as I am showing you from the base of the breast upwards, rounding the breast and reaching the nipple. This one is more exact because obviously you are taking it in the body of the person directly, so it doesn't matter the complexion of the person. Another method is using a bra. Some bras it has this seam line, or also it can have a dart. If you find a bra that you are using fits you well and it has one of those two things, simply measure from the base of the bra, reaching this seam line or the end of the dart, and that will be the apex circle radius. If the bra doesn't have any of those seam lines, then measure from the base of the bra until the point where the bra touches the nipple. So once you know the apex circle radius, you can calculate easily the bust dart width just by dividing by 2 the apex circle radius. For example, if the bust contour is 80, to get the apex circle radius, we divided by 10. That gives us a result of 8 centimeters. Those 8 centimeters divided by 2 and you will get 4 centimeters, and those 4 centimeters is your bust dart width. So once you know that, we are going to mark here from the armhole line the same measurement you have on the side of your back pattern. Here in my case is 19.5. Mark it here, and you are going to add the bust dart width we just calculated. For me, for example, it was 4 centimeters, so I'm going to mark it here apart. In total, I have 23.5 centimeters. I'm going to mark it over here also to trace my waistline, or also you can square a line from the central line of the pattern. This is my waistline, and here I'm going to mark the hips length in the same way I did in the back pattern, from waist to hips. I'm going to complete my line, and this measurement mark it over here also, or square a line to trace the baseline of your pattern. Now to trace my darts, first I'm going to mark the apex point, because from that point I'm going to start my 2 darts. And for that I'm going to show you a very effective and exact way to do it, because it's the most important point for your darts in a pattern. First you need to take the measurement. First you need to take a measurement which is the breast separation, that means the distance which is from one nipple to another, and it's so important that you take these measurements using a bra that adjusts your body so well. So take that measurement, and we are going to mark half of that measurement starting from this line, in some point of this line. Here, for me is 10.5 centimeters, half of breast separation. I'm going to mark it over here also, because what I want is to trace a line reaching the top line of my pattern. And I'm squaring a reference line like this. And now in this line I am going to mark the highest point of my breast. What you need to do is take the measurement from the shoulder to your nipple, or start from your nipple to your shoulder, but here you will have a distance because you need to keep the measuring tape so straight from the nipple reaching the shoulder. Keep it so straight in this way as I am showing you in the picture, so you will get this measurement correct. Don't move the measuring tape to one side or another. It has to be completely straight from your nipple to your shoulder, and then mark that measurement here in the line we made before, and this one is your apex point. So from here I'm going to trace my side dart and the waist dart as well. First, I'm going to extend this line, and this one, it will be the central line of my waist dart, 1.5 centimeters to each side of the center line. Also this dart, it will be 3 centimeters dart in total. Here 12 centimeters, same like in the back pattern. Remember, this is for now, because maybe in the transformation of the patterns you will need to change the length of this dart, but this is the standard length. And here I am going to trace the top part of the waist dart, mark the designer dart and also the dressmaker dart, as we did in the back pattern. As you can see, the apex point is the origin of the darts. Now here we are going to square a line passing on the apex point like this, and this is the central line of my side dart. For that I need to trace my waistline first, so here I'm going to mark 1/4 part of my waist round and adding the ease, which is 1.5 centimeters, and here in this line I'm going to mark 1/4 part of hips contour, adding also 1.5 centimeters, because if you remember, that is the ease we are using for the front pattern. Now join these points to make the side of your pattern, and also remember the extra we need to compensate the space for the dart. So it was 3 centimeters, mark it here also, and from that point also join the hips point and the armhole point. Now we can trace our side dart. We know our side dart width because we calculated before. If you remember, I have it here, that's why I mark it apart so I can check. I have 4, so I'm going to mark half to one side and half to another side of my central line, 2 and 2 in my case, and I'm going to join with the apex point for the designer dart. And 1 inch away from the apex point, start the dressmaker dart. Like this. Now your pattern is ready, only write the information and cut it, but we are going to leave some extra paper here in this side. Now we are going to fold the designer dart. That means fold from the apex point. Just close the dart like this, and now we are going to trace a line from the armhole point to the waist point. Just with the scale trace a dart like this and cut in that line, keeping the dart folded. And there you have the extra space for the dart, so you will not have any mistake when you cut on fabric. And here you have your patterns ready. For now we are not going to trace the sleeve in this class because we usually trace the sleeve after the transformations of these patterns. That means first you need to get the perfect armhole, and the perfect armhole, it depends for every garment. So first is transform the armhole if is needed and then trace the sleeves. But anyway, I'm going to give a master class about the sleeves and armholes, sleeve caps, everything about the sleeves and armholes. So subscribe to the channel and activate the notifications on the bell button so you will not miss that video. Thank you so much for your patience waiting for my videos. Thank you so much for your support. Remember, in the description box below you have a link with more information about these patterns, and also you have the links to my social networks so you can contact me there whenever you want. So happy stitches for everyone, and I will see you the next time.